Well, keep your emails coming. We promise we read them all. And if you've gone beyond emails, you can contact us through Facebook. And we're also conversing right now on Twitter at Saturday Live, all one word. Now, at the end of the 19th century, there were some who thought that by the year 2010 we'd all be speaking Esperanto. They would have been followers of a Polish man called Zamenhof, who wrote under the pseudonym of Doctoro Esperanto and who created the International Auxiliary Language to give it its proper title. He thought that if everyone had a common language, we'd all get on much better and it would help to foster harmony around the world. As many as 2 million people speak Esperanto, but although it was officially recognised by UNESCO in 1954, no country has ever fully taken it to its bosom, although it's recently been gaining new life through the internet. It's also the subject of this week's Guerrilla Report from one of our listeners, Paul Gubbins, who's a member of the Academy of Esperanto.
Esperanto, I think, discovered me rather than me discovering it. I'd bought a Teach Yourself Esperanto book, and my father said to me, "Nobody learns Esperanto, nobody speaks it, you're wasting your time." Like an idiot, I believed him. And it was about 20 years afterwards, when we were moving house, that I came across this Esperanto book. And it coincided with the time when I was teaching languages to beginners at a university. And I thought, it's a long time since I've been a beginner in a language, so I'll take up a new language. Well, this is my Esperanto library. This is my study where I have my computer and all my Esperanto books. So it's very much my Esperanto cave, my Esperanto den. Some of the books I use most frequently, of course, are the dictionaries, and this one is, in many respects, I suppose, our Bible. It's called the Plena Illustrita Vortaro de Esperanto, the fully illustrated dictionary of Esperanto. Sabato viva estas tre interesa programo. Ĝi enhavas multajn interesajn erojn kaj ĝi ege plaĉas al mi. And in English, that means that Saturday Live is a very interesting program. It's got a lot of very interesting items in it, and I like it a lot. Esperanto sounds rather like Italian, so it's quite a light language. It's not sort of a guttural language, perhaps like German is. We've got 5 pure vowels, a, e, I, o, u. We've got a couple of diphthongs. So in other words, we don't have the problem that we have in English about how to pronounce the word bath, or bath, or possibly if you come from American, a bath. Esperanto, simply the a sound is just that, a. The grammar is drawn in the main from Slavic languages. Having said that, it is remarkably popular in a country like China. And the reason for that is that Chinese languages are what we call an agglutinative language, which means that they add little bits on. So, for example, you have a concept for a tree, and you add on a bit which says big tree, possibly big tree in leaf. Welsh operates like that as well. And so therefore in China, people are able to identify with Esperanto, and often they enjoy Esperanto as, if you like, an introductory language to other European languages. Esperantists are very concerned about minority languages and about language loss. We are concerned, for example, about the language imperialism of English, that English is on the move, English takes over, English pushes out native languages. Nobody wants languages to disappear, but what we're saying is that people should have the right to speak their own domestic languages, but it would make common sense if we had Esperanto as a common lingua franca for all these various people. And we would say to speakers of these minority languages, look, don't learn English, because in that way you're, if you like, signing your own suicide note. Speak Esperanto internationally. People sometimes ask who the Shakespeare of the Esperanto world is. My answer to that is that we probably haven't got one, but I would also say to them, give us a break. It took English something like 800 years of development since Beowulf and other early writings before Shakespeare came along. Esperanto has been in existence only since 1887. In that sense, we're a baby among languages. I would point to the progress we have made, the very fact that we have candidates now for the Nobel Prize for Literature. This is an indication that our literary output is quite as rich. Of course, as well as literature, we also have Esperanto rock groups, Esperanto singers, Esperanto entertainers. My own personal favourite, I think, is the Dutch group Kaito, which means kite. And what they have done is take Esperanto poems and put them to music. Marsch, marsch, on dictas la muziek. Hurra, ran, hulla, strat, publik. Kai brava knaboi so chevaloi ekraidas for al mot batalo. Something like that at any rate. I'm not much of a singer. Esperanto's been used in several films. I think one of the very early ones was Charlie Chaplin's Great Dictator. This was a spoof on the Adolf Hitler years, and the film is set in some neutral country where the signs and things are written in Esperanto. It's also been used, though, of course, more recently in the television show Red Dwarf, where the Chris Barry character, Arnold Rimmer, was trying to learn it. And again, I think that's the sort of thing which would give a big boost to Esperanto. Certainly people used to come up to me at the time and say, oh, we heard a bit of Esperanto on the television. And that's all to the good, I think.
I'm Anne, I'm married to Paul, have been for 30 odd years, and it must be more than 20 since he found that Esperanto book. What a day that was. Drove me absolutely mad, so I refused to have anything to do with it. My daughter, though, is not daft. When she was a little girl, she realised that Daddy was going off on all these wonderful foreign holidays to strange places, and she decided that she fancied going too, and Paul said yes, she could go, provided she learned Esperanto. So she did, as quite a young child. And to this day, she speaks Esperanto, and she belongs to Esperanto groups on Facebook. I suppose she's the 21st century face of Esperanto.
Let's have a common neutral language such as Esperanto, which means that no one country, if you like, has the upper hand. No one country is dictating linguistic imperialism. You must learn Chinese, you must learn English, you must learn French if you wish to deal with us. No, let's have a language which is designed for the purpose, and that language is Esperanto. So here's to Esperanto. Vivu Esperanto. The world is becoming, in many respects, a more fractured place. It's dividing along certain grounds, perhaps ethnic grounds, religious grounds. Esperanto, I think, would enable people to talk to one another as human beings, which is exactly the reason why Esperanto was designed in the first place. There have been one or two people who've learned Esperanto. Harold Wilson, for example, former British Prime Minister, used to say that he learned it as a Boy Scout. There's also the odd member of the European Parliament who's an Esperanto speaker, and we have a couple of Nobel Prize winners as well. But apart from that, I don't think there's really any household names. What I would love would be perhaps if a member of a pop group or some fashion model, if Naomi Campbell, for example, took up Esperanto. This would be absolutely wonderful. Please, Naomi Campbell, if you're listening, learn Esperanto. This would do us a power of good.
We're all standing to attention, the Esperanto anthem there. Naomi might be a little bit busy with those dirty pebbles to learn all the words, but we could certainly pass the message on, Paul. Now, this is Saturday Live, Radio 4's emotional fit flop. We still have plenty more to come from our studio guest, the award-winning journalist Gary Young.